Warfare.
They like me, you're a French again, so wicked plate, let that shit like top rope. Put this bag, hundreds of demons, they're always there, above the screens. What's the world out there, in the depths of dread, and the truth to be shared.
If fighting was a god, I would worship him. I would bow to him. I would pray for victory. For he only grants opportunities. But behind every god lurks a devil. And the devil wants me to take a dive. My name is Annatomic. And this is how my legend was made.
From the heart of Lovecraft country and the birthplace of American religious liberty, my name is Shanthan Jetty. Welcome to Shanthan Jetty Art. And here, I see all my people showing up in the chat. Here is a brand new show that I've been thinking about doing because, particularly after, I think, 2 streams ago, man, look at all you guys. I got to say hello to you guys. People were talking about, man, I really enjoyed just, you were showing your books, you were talking about all this stuff, just chatting with us and talking about these things. And I thought, well, that's what I love to do. So I got to do something about it. And so I'm going to be doing this a lot more because I've got so many books I want to share, all of that stuff. I'm going to need you to put a hat on, Shanth. All right, hang on. How's this, Stephen Rockwood, my brother? How are you doing? What is up? How are you doing, RBI Studios? It is great to see you. Let me get to my channel members. We've got Mark's Music Obsession, who was first in the house, channel member, and OG as far as I'm concerned now. Great to see you, Mark. Stephen Rockwood, the Alpha, the Omega, the first channel members here. It's great to see you. Is that Christopher Bouchard? Why are the names messed up in here? I don't know what's going on. My man, Past Master Dan, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you doing? Altered Beast is here. It's great to see you, Altered Beast. William Wellborn, it is great to see you, my friend. We've also got Wylam, who is a new channel member, thanks to Nomad Damon. All right, guys, listen to me. Look at me, Luban. Look at me in my eyeball. I have adjusted the volume of the cheerleaders. So in addition to trying to make sure my mic is up louder, I have lowered the volume of the cheerleaders. We're going to see how this goes, okay? I do believe I reduced them. So, fingers crossed. If not, 1,000 apologies.
Charge! Charge!
Are we still alive? Everybody, was that a little better? Not so bad, hopefully. Bear Knight is here. Art Haida is here. It is great to see you, Art Haida. I hope you are doing well. Let me see who else I may have missed. Let me double check. Enrique Cabrera is here. It's good to see you. I know, man. I know. I'm working on that volume for you guys. You know, it's not the most well-oiled machine in the world. And we've got Wildman Actual here. It is good to see you, Wildman Actual. And I think I got everybody. So hopefully, good volume on you and the clips. Glad to hear it. Holy crap, level audio. It is a Thanksgiving miracle, isn't it? I love Thanksgiving. And what is up, Art J? I don't even know if these names are the correct names, but evening to you, my friend. All right, guys, let's start talking shop. First of all, I wanted to definitely do a stream, and thank you so much, Past Master Dan, for sharing the link to Springball Terminal Monstrosity. It's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it. I wanted to talk with you guys about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Now that I've seen it, had some time to absorb it, the more I think about it and the more I look at it, the more I love it. I love the decisions that were made. I want to talk about that. I also want to talk to you guys about books, but here's another cool thing. What's up, newly minted channel member Corey Landis? I just got your name in the credits. And hi to you, Noxie. God, I tell you what, I don't know if any of these names are correct. Apologies on behalf of YouTube, I guess we'll say. But I was sitting here going, people keep saying, man, I want you to talk about some of these books. It's cool. We like when you show books and things like that. And I went, what am I going to do? And this is how thick I am. Without moving anything, without doing any extensive work, I woke up to, what's up, Shadowhawk Talks? I woke up to the technology and the time that we're in right now. And I went, wait a minute. Oh, God, this is so bad. I can move my reference book holder in front of the camera and adjust the camera so I can share books with you guys. That is how complicated of a solve this was. Oh my God. I am as sharp as a marble some days, and that is how it goes. What's up, Michelle Bowers? How are you doing? It is great to see you. And there are so many things I want to talk with you guys about. You know, what's that saying? You and me and you, there's lots and lots for us to do. Yeah, that's how it works. And I just thought, man, I have got to... We really do live in the future in an incredible, marvelous, technical age. Yeah, it is kind of nuts, isn't it? It gets me every time. Just got the art book, but haven't opened it yet. Oh, we've got that here too. We've got that here too. It is great. That thing is a brick. I've gotten a series of books that are ridiculously heavy. So before we get to this, before we start talking about this lovely book as we hang out here in the studio, I wanted to talk a little bit about yeah, seriously. You know what? You ain't kidding, man. please be out. I know you guys are out there already, singing the praises of what we're doing here in Comicsgate and everything that we're doing here on these channels and making books and all this stuff and all the amazing support you guys give. But it really is a wild thing to think about how much understanding of technology we've all had to get. And maybe that's a good segue to Frankenstein. But here's I'll give you an overview in terms of where I stand with Guillermo del Toro. Massive Guillermo del Toro fan in terms of his creature designs, the things that he does, and his creativity and a lot of the things he does. It doesn't mean I think every film that he does are the same, like they're all fantastic. I love some more than others. But here's the thing. I am big enough of a fan to where I actually flew to Stephen Rockwood's house in Canada. That's how it works. I went to the Museum of Art in the Ontario Museum of Art? I forget what it is. Oh, sorry, the AGO. I forget what it stands for. Alberta. Somebody's going to solve it for me. Or Art Gallery of Ontario. I can't remember. Anyway, I went to flew to Canada to go see the Guillermo del Toro exhibit. And it was just incredible. It was so great. And that's how big of a fan I am of his. I love the work that he does. I was incredibly nervous going into Frankenstein. And yes, Pan's Labyrinth is absolutely RBI, a masterpiece. Love it. Oh, I cannot wait for you to get it. I cannot wait to get that book done. I've got some really good eyes on it that have given me some great feedback here in Comicsgate, which has been great. It's just, I'm so excited about that book. I'm so excited about a lot of stuff I'm working on. So actually, since we're talking about it, let me get this, sweet heavens, where we can see it just so it makes a little bit of sense. So here you go. Here is the book I was showing you guys and we were talking about a little bit. God, I love thinking of the things you guys helped me come to. Incredible. But I think it was a brilliant film, and it was not by any stretch of the imagination a faithful adaptation of Mary Shelley's novel at all. Was it more like her novel in some ways than the 1931 film? Yes, it was. But was it, certainly in terms of not including the aspect of the ship, which is the whole point of the story, and things like that. But it was very much in line, in my opinion, with the 1931 Frankenstein. And so in that way, it was inspired by the book. And it was, and it explored the book, and I think it is it justified its own existence is the best way I would put it. And it did something, there were a bunch of things I was concerned about the film doing. And here's what they are. In the book, Frankenstein's monster refers to himself as a wretch, as someone who's murdered the innocent, who is cruel. And he does a lot of things in the book that are just unprovoked by any stretch of the imagination, acts of murder to get revenge on Frankenstein, or to get, the victor. And, he's unforgivable. And my great fear with Del Toro, my great fear with this film was that Del Toro was going to try to, I know he cares about the monster, but I was going to try to make the monster of the novel have some kind of redemptive arc. That was a huge concern of mine. And he has a tendency to, I don't know how to put it, to paint a very unsympathetic view of humankind, of authority, of father figures, you name it. He has a tendency in his work. And I thought, I don't know where this is going to go. And there were several turns in this story where I realized he was doing a monster much more akin to Boris Karloff's sympathetic portrayal of him as a monster who didn't... exactly, I guess Monster Squad's Frankenstein monster is the guy you might want to hang out with, and in a weird sort of way, has more in common with this Frankenstein, as funny as that may sound, than does the one of the novel. I mean, he goes through certain similar situations, meeting the blind old man, but even that situation is turned on its head. At every turn, He is making something new. What's up, Flutterbat? How are you doing? It's good to see you. And yet the monster in the movie is, in some shots, resembled Wrightson's. Absolutely correct. He went Beauty and the Beast route. He went, you know what's interesting? I think he went even something, in terms of Shape of Water, I would absolutely agree with that. In terms of this movie, he actually gave an ending to the story that was one of the most optimistic, hopeful, and life-affirming endings to a film he has ever done. He made a movie about the human condition, because if you get to the end of some of Del Toro's movies, like The Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth, you're really stretching to not just there's a bittersweet sense of some kind of arc and purity, and of course Pan's Labyrinth ruins any hope you had for the two lead characters in Devil's Backbone, because it shows them get killed as young men in Pan's Labyrinth. But the thing about it for me that really shocked me is you get to the end of the movie and there is forgiveness, there is reconciliation, and it really is a beautiful story that is the kind of thing that inspires what I do in Springball, but in particular in Nosfero, which is you go through difficult things in your life, and you experience difficult things, and you look for answers, and you try to figure those things out. But the thing is to, how do you look at life without a cynical eye, without a view that it's all just horrible, and yet how do you do that in a way to where you don't say everything's just wonderful and everything is okay, which is not what great artwork is supposed to ever tell you. Yes, forgiveness and empathy was in this, and it really was shocking to me. You could have knocked me over with a feather, because it was the one thing that I don't think, it wasn't a postmodern redemptive arc for an anti-hero redemptive arc for Frankenstein. I will tell you what it reminded me of. I was sitting back going, where have I seen this ending before, where the father acknowledges the son? It's not possible for him to really redeem himself, but he accepts his fate, validates his son, dies, and then the son is now free to go off has been healed in a way to where he can go forward now without that. And it dawned on me that it was basically the ending of Return of the Jedi. And that is the thing I've been chewing over with this film. That in a lot of ways, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is a story like that. It's a story of a young person who wants to figure out who he is. He learns about his father, doesn't like what he learns, then goes on a quest to seek some kind of peace by meeting his father. He finds out that that peace isn't going to be had, and in the final measure, left with no options, the father has to acknowledge and embrace him as his son in the way that makes him uncomfortable. And that was brilliant. You know? RBI music's like, I don't know. Moving past the horror is the end game. Yes, life is hard. Amen. And it's good to see a Cursed Heart Creations. How are you doing? Yeah, there's Christianity if I got his message correctly. Yes, there's definitely there. There's definitely some of that there. And that really shocked me. What's up, Spaceman? How are you doing? Hail, Sean. Great seeing you on Kings. Thank you so much. It's been a minute. I've just been trying to spin a lot of plates and get things done. It was so great to be there with everybody, and some really stunning work, came out of it. I'm always excited, and I was reluctant when I was on there about Ethan bringing in this new young gun. But he came in and he kicked all of our butts, and it was great to see, man. So yes, indeed. Let's see here. But yeah, it was yes, Return of the Jedi, yes. And I remember the impact that movie had on me, and I was God knows how old I was in 1983, but I think it was the first Star Wars movie I can remember seeing in the theater. And in that moment, oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate. Actually, while you guys are here, and because again, you're in the studio, so this is not completely planned. We're going to talk about things. I can actually show you, for those of you guys who missed it, here's a better view of the Doctor Strange I did on Kings, just messing around and having fun and, playing with the proportions. I found myself thinking not only of Steve Ditko, but of Arthur Adams, funny enough. I was really affected by it. And it was such an effective ending that my brother from another mother, Nick, who is an incredible landscape painter, I mean, he just gifted my wife a landscape painting. It belongs in a museum. It's one of those. But I told him the ending over the phone because he doesn't believe in spoilers. He's a lot like me. And he goes, damn, that is, wow, I don't think that's really ever been done before. So you had the combination of, yeah, does the monster kill people? Yeah, he's a savage force if you attack him. Does he frame a young nanny, for lack of a better way of putting it, a young servant girl wrongly for the murder of a child that he kills and then get her executed for it? No. That's the Frankenstein of the novel. To this day, the most accurate telling of Frankenstein is the Frankenstein novel is the 2004 Hallmark. That is adaptation that I think I did on one of the early Pizza Lives. It was just stills because I couldn't show the video because it's copywritten. But for those of you guys who are curious about some of the artistry of the film, I now have a little bit of a better pre-existing setup. I've got to have at least one Chanth painting one way or another. It will happen. It will happen. There opportunities are going to show up and things are going to happen that'll make it possible. I am sure. But look at this. Yeah, Victor blames the monster twice for mistakes he made. Exactly. It is not at all. I don't know how he pulled this off. Okay, let me also say this. I know I said this in my one of my posts about this movie. I had the most doubts about Oscar Isaac, whom I like as an actor. His ability to play Victor, I just couldn't see it in my head. I think because I always see him as Victor as a very Percy Shelley kind of character in my mind. And Bernie Wrightson's beautiful illustrations kind of lend credence to that for me. Made me, it helped to distill my view of him. It wasn't so much Colin Clive's appearance as it was that. What's up, infamous Mr. Cursed? How are you doing? It is great to see you, my friend. And Oscar Isaac deserves an Oscar for this, or at least he deserves many plaudits and awards. He was incredible. His character was unconscionable so many moments, self-serving. He wasn't romanticized. He was a genius, though. That was the great thing about it. They were almost really showing it certain aspects of true genius with it. And the redemptive arc they gave him, or at least what he did for the monster after all the suffering he himself caused. He is the root of all of his own suffering. I really was impressed. He made a movie where he took the bones of Mary Shelley's novel, which he's been a fan of, and I do think the novel works on its own. I don't know how many adaptations it needs. First of all, Shane is always right in all of his pronunciations, Cursed Heart Creations. How dare you? Shane's the man. He was killing me the other night with something. I forget what it was, but it was some word. I was loving it, man. But Oscar Isaac, this is not planned, by the way. This just was the page I turned to. Oscar Isaac's performance in it was incredible, particularly in those moments when the little Weasley aspects of his personality trying to take credit or trying to lay blame on the monster for really horrific things he does and allows to happen. And it's amazing that that they how do I put it? I'm sorry I'm stammering so much. The wood grain is fantastic, Paul. How are you doing? It is great to see. All the names are different. So Paul Schmidt's guitar, if that's not what you normally go by, I apologize. But the wood grain is fantastic, but I'll tell you, the costumes were even better. But the fact that they made me actually have some kind of empathy for Victor after all the things he did, which is not something I'm prone to doing in an instance that involves, if you've seen the movie, what it involves, which is just a brilliant guy who is a classically self-absorbed, kind of person. And when you see the artistry of the creature makeup, and I got to, tip my... oh, God, I hope this book doesn't fall. I've got to tip my cap to Mike Hill and his incredible makeup work. This makeup and the design that he worked out with Guillermo del Toro was fantastic. Okay. Second person that I need to give some... he does turn out to be Brainiac, Paul. I think we got to wait for the sequel, but I think all the clues are there. I think all of the clues are there. Of course, the gentleman, is it Jacob Elordi? I hope I'm not pronouncing his name too horribly wrong. As the creature, was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic as the creature. He was cruel. Yes, he was. Victor was cruel when all he had to do was be kind, and that's what made it sort of tragic, but also more meaningful at the end. The doctor creating the monster or a scapegoat, it really is the latter more than the former. Also something weird, did they use the same... Yes, they used the same actress for Victor's mother and love interest. They did. And what was interesting about that is that Victor's mother loved him, and the Elizabeth character did not. And while she was his love interest, he was not hers. That was what was really brilliant about it. It was a complete change of the story, and it worked. And I've heard a lot of people talking about the fact, does she have some, attraction to the monster, some romantic interest or anything like that? And I thought, no, that is not what I got out of it, and I was looking for it. The connection that she has, and why I think it's the same actress, is because it was the maternal connection. She was sort of shining a light on his younger brother being her love interest, and him being so boyish and the opposite of Victor. In many ways, he was the sort of the perfect son and brother who helped his crazy brother. And the creature was a distillation of her caretaker need for me. And she had tremendous distrust for him. Well, she had a little thing for him, I think. Well, I think she was one of those characters you see in Gothic romance who was, as she said, I think, in the script, in the story, she was not made for this world. She was doomed. In many ways, she was the person who had a little bleeding heart speech at the table, but which I was kind of like, oh God, is she going to be like the lectury conscience of the story? So she had that, but she also seemed to have this he wasn't great. And Victor's father was not a particularly great person. He even blamed his guardian angel. Yes, he did. They almost took the monster's personality, the creature's personality, and put it onto Victor in this. It was really interesting. And it changed the whole flow and dynamic of it. Yeah, he wasn't that great, nor was his father, which was another massive change to the book. Massive change. There are no two different things I can think of than Victor's father's portrayal in this movie and Victor's father's portrayal in Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. Totally different characters. Like, again, this is not the book. Anyone who tells you that this is the most faithful adaptation of the book is out of their mind. It is not at all. It's not even close. What's up, Arcadian Comics? How are you doing? Hello, Shalt. I'm just here to say The Ghost of the Way of the Samurai is a great movie, Shalt. Ignore the haters. People are welcome to not like that movie. I am thrilled to have gotten Arcadian Comics. Don't you worry. Sometimes people have to say things on the internet. It's the way it is. And, if someone were to say to me they don't like this movie, as many, have, I would understand it. But you know what? I love this movie, and I love to share it with people. So thank you, Arcadian Comics. I'm glad you like it, too. Yeah, Charles Dance. Okay, let's talk about Charles Dance for a second, man. Oh, one of my favorite parts, that speech. Yes. Yes, that speech, 100%. Yeah, Charles Dance. How long has Charles Dance been crushing it in Hollywood or in, film and television? It has to have been, by my estimation, 40 or 50 years. Are we at 40 or 50 years of him doing excellent work? My God, what an actor. Yeah, it was a good film. It was definitely a good film. Yeah, absolutely. So glad it got a Criterion release. Yes, I understood. Even Anna liked it, and she hates everything. That doesn't surprise me at all. Actually, that doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, Alien 3. Yes, you're right. Wow. Yeah. And it's so getting into the aspects of it, I was concerned, as is sometimes the case. Actually, let me move the camera up because that's a little bit easier. I was concerned, as is often the case, that when a director becomes obsessed with a story and he begins to, put his own, well, that's a little gory, his own, wants to put his own stamp on it, that he ends up making a claim that is very common. And that claim tends to be, this is what the author intended. And he does do that in interviews a little bit, but I think he's backed off and he was more, I love Mary Shelley, but this is my version of it. And I'm here to tell you guys, it's a great version of it. This version is, in my mind, the second best film version of Frankenstein after the 1931. And like the 1931, it is its own work and it's carved out its own space. Send Malin the link pronto. I will absolutely send Malin the link. I have no problem sending Malin the link. Does he even want to come in here? I don't think Malin was wild about it, but, you have to always send Malin the link. I don't even know if I have. Hold on a second, because I'm in a different setup here. Oh my gosh. My setup is, I'm in an Ecamm, which is a little bit different. But then, what's it called? StreamYard is wild. So I don't know what's going on with StreamYard at this point. Hang on a second. Oh my God. X, what are you doing? Leave me alone. All right. Let me see if I can figure this out. I probably can. What is going... Oh, there it is. All right. I'm going to send him the link there. There's no way he's coming in here. There you go. For those of you guys who were hoping, there you go. Okay, let me close this. Now you see what you did. You've taken an elderly person and you've thrown them into chaos. I loved Alien 3. I don't give what anyone says. Film's great. Dillian was a great character too. Listen, we all miss Malin. By the way, I think there's a lot of crankiness and stress going on right now because of Malin's absence. I think in many ways he has a calming influence on everyone. He's a rock of Gibraltar. That's the way it is. So yeah, some really great acting. Let me go to, and of course, we all know, we've now seen The Creature. Really nice. Really nice work. Beautiful artistry. Gosh, gotta move this over. Beautiful artistry and sketches. Really nicely realized build of The Creature. What's up, Grey Wolf Graphics? How are you doing? And Growl Jones, how are you? I just got your name into the credits before we started. Give it 2 weeks, we'll be back to normal. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. I'm an introvert, and I know John has talked about being an introvert, and introverts need to go and recharge. I've seen, how do I put it? If there's anything I've seen that has given me pause, no pun intended, Growl Jones, but if there's anything that has given me pause, it's watching how many YouTubers and how natural it is get so consumed with their idea of themselves on YouTube that they completely go off, it burns you down. It's not normal. It's not meant to be a normal, regular thing. And someone who does a completely different craft and makes artwork and things like that and writes needs time to decompress and get away with it. It's the rare person who can do that. Yeah, it's one of those things. And what's up again, Grey Wolf Graphics? It is great to see you. So yeah, so I would much rather people take a break. Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know what? I will tell you this. Hong Kong Fooey. I really wish that YouTube would get the names back, because reading has gotten so difficult for me on this. Yeah, John is a great streamer. Absolutely right. I think Guillermo del Toro is just the right amount of rated as a director. I think someone could make the case in some ways, and I am a huge fan of the stuff he does. If you look around me, you can see so much Del Toro, it's not even funny. I have a gigantic... let me see if I can move this so you can see it. Where would it go? It's going to get the light in it. But there's a... If you look right there, that is a gigantic statue of the vampire from The Strain. So I'm a big fan of his stuff, but he's rated just, I think, well enough. And my thing about him is, I hope that Hollywood is okay, or I hope that Hollywood has the courage to reward him for this work that's on Netflix and does not give your typical nihilistic message that they love to reward him and other directors for. That's the big thing. Absolutely. That's why I say take it easy and get better. 100%, Growl Jones. You're absolutely right. All of the howling for our pack leader is hard on the voice box. I'm exhausted. Understood. Jonathan Jetty is just a public persona. His real name is Ted Gomez. Wouldn't it be great if my real name was like, Connor O'Brien or something like that? And it was all a lie. So here are Del Toro's sketches, which are just so fantastic and beautiful. So when I was thinking about, God, look at this photograph or still from the movie. When I was thinking about doing this stream, and Del Toro is a big player with the George Lucas film. He's donating a lot of his art, yes, to the museum following the LA wildfires. Yeah, I think that spooked him. He used to own all of the Bernie Wrightson Frankenstein artwork except for one piece, which he claimed the only reason he didn't have it is because no matter what he offered, the guy wouldn't sell. And then when the fires got close to his house, I think he had that sudden realization that if I own all the Bernie Wrightson Frankensteins and my house goes up in flames, they're all gone. And some of the reasons why I still have examples of my work when I was younger is it was published and it was sold and it was out there so I could get it back. Because I don't have any artwork from my childhood. I don't have any of that stuff except for those comics and a handful of other things. I don't even have photos. So it's one of those things that I always say is it's a good thing to get your work out there. I actually love putting artwork in the mail. I'm about to put 2 pieces of artwork in the mail, and I could not be happier. Yeah, a Del Toro Star Wars story would be good. Yeah, I'd like to see him do anything because it's going to be interesting. I would rather have something be interesting in many ways. What another great actor who's been doing it for a long time. And let me see if I can get his name. Oh my gosh, opposite David Bradley. David Bradley, as you know from many Del Toro works, and of course from Hot Fuzz, I believe, See Mine. What a great actor he is, and his role in this is fantastic. I do want to make sure I tell you something, even though it's not as gloriously exploitive as the Hammer horror films are. You do get a scene of the female lead going down the stairs with a candelabra in a diaphanous nightgown. So for that, I must salute this film. They, no more than Nosfero does, they did not let us down in the realm of diaphanous nightgowns, people. I was very impressed. And it was good stuff. Yeah, Del Toro is supposed to do a Jabba movie. No, I've heard that. But I don't know. I don't know, those stories, they go backwards and forwards. But this guy was really good. Jacob Elordi as the creature is up there with Boris Karloff. Now, here's something I thought was wild. Yeah, I thought she was your character. Yeah, she is my character. I mean, I don't know what she was doing. Anyway, I will sue. He was a last-minute casting after Andrew Garfield dropped out. And you want to talk about the movie gods making something happen. It's like when Lon Chaney Sr.'s illness, and of course he passed away, prevented him from taking on the role of Dracula, and we got Bela Lugosi. I mean, film history was changed by that. And Bela Lugosi is the quintessential Dracula all these years later. God help me. So, yes, when Lon Chaney Sr. dropped out of Dracula, then they were able to get Bela Lugosi to play Dracula. Bela Lugosi later played Frankenstein's monster, but that's how it goes. How revealing was it on a scale from Burka to Sydney Sweeney on the red carpet? Boy, for me, right in the middle. It was not the most diaphanous of diaphanous nightgowns, but it was what it was. Of course, a beautiful concept sketch here for one thing that was true to the story. Senior moment, Sean. Mark, you ain't kidding, man. You ain't kidding. I've lately been having to inform my kids and many others. I'm like, I'm 50, okay? You gotta, like, I'm not moving at the same speed. I'm moving differently, but it requires more Advil. Hell, man. Really just, again, beautiful design. A love of the kind of the red stuff. I'm not wild about the digital concept art, but as long as it works, what they do in the film works. I think so much of the craftsmanship happens in sketches like these and not the concept art, AI-looking stuff that we're used to seeing. With this movie, Arcadian Comics, a big thumbs up for this. Like, big thumbs up. I'm trying to hold back a little bit on it just because I think give it some time. But when I see a movie like this, I was shocked. I did not go into it thinking it was going to be great. I've been very frustrated by a lot of the portrayals of the story of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, including the one called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And my attitude is, if you're going to change everything, don't call it Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Or if you're going to change significant parts of it, don't call it that. And also, don't treat it like it's going to be some accurate representation if you're going to change it. If you're going to change it, just make it good. Just make a good movie. Yes, indeed. You know what's funny is, you guys don't know this. No kidding. No kidding. Grell Jones, 100%. And welcome to channel membership, by the way. Yeah, Corey Landis. Yeah, a lot of people don't know this. I'm going to reveal this for the first time here. Before he started working on the movie, he wasn't sure if it was where it was going to go. And I called up Guillermo del Toro. I call him Guillermo. And I said, Guillermo, bubby, be great. And he said, what? I said, be great. And that's why the movie went the way it did. Yeah, very similar look to Luke Goss, yes, and he was great in Hellboy 2, and Luke Goss played the monster in the most accurate adaptation of Frankenstein, the 2004 Hallmark show. So yeah, Luke Goss was a great monster. Great monster. See, you guys know, that is how you do it. Gitmo, baby. You're not kidding. You know who pronounces his name absolutely... Thank you. I'm glad, Cursed Art Creations. I'm glad you knew. You know what I mean? I'm glad you appreciate all of the hard work I do. The funniest... yeah, his friends call him G-Money. That's right. The funniest pronunciation of his name I ever have seen, God bless him, is the guy who does the makeup and creature design work for him, Mike Hill. Whenever... Just look for it. Whenever Mike Hill is being interviewed about Guillermo del Toro, he goes... When he first reached out to me, Guillermo, I'm like, what? He calls him Guillermo. He cannot do the roles. He can't. He's a Brit, and he can't do any of the Spanish Guillermo. He can't get this. He's like Guillermo. It's beautiful, man. Just call him Billy. Everyone calls him Billy. No, that's Billy Tucci, the legend, the Tooch. And yeah, beautiful, beautiful sets. Incredible work done. And again, some serious redemptive arcs. But I've talked about this book before and talked about, the costumes. This book is a brick. It is a very, very heavy book. The costumes are beautiful. The costumes alone are incredible. What's up? My brother Timmy Mello is here. It is great to see it. Yeah, Gilmore. It's 100% what it is, man. It's, oh my God. You got to watch any interview with him. He's like, so when Guillermo first started talking to me, and I'm like, wait, who started talking to you? It's craziness. So this stuff alone is worth the price of admission. If you have a Netflix membership, then that's your price. But I wanted to talk a little bit about a book I was planning on showing you guys and have not been able to find for years now. And I found it because of this stream. He has never done it before, but he does tell a funny story, Growl Jones. He said he was at the Cannes Film Festival, and or the Cannes, how do you pronounce it anyway? The Cannes Film Festival or whatever it's called, and all of these young women were trying to find out what room he was staying in because they wanted to meet him, and they said, Guillermo, there's all these young women here who say they know you and they're trying to come and see you, and we're not exactly sure what's going on there. And he actually, I think he said, he told them, he goes, ask them if they're confusing me with Benicio del Toro. And they were. He goes, if they had gotten up to my room, they would have been so disappointed. They would have been so disappointed to find out I was not Benicio del Toro by any stretch of the imagination. I completely forgot Frankenstein was now out, yes, but I am definitely going to watch it soon and after. Timmy Mello, as an artist, let me tell you, this is, he's like, I'm okay with the confusion. It works, and maybe Benicio is too. Sicario is great, by the way, man. Dang, I really love that movie. So I couldn't find this book, and then one of the places, I have so many books, it was in one of the places that I hadn't looked before, but this version, it is not cheap now. It was released by Dark Horse back in the day. It is the only good reproduction of the book until IDW puts out, or of the artwork, until IDW puts out the art of the artist edition of Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, or someone does a new publication of it. Because the ink lines in every other edition of this book, including the paperback that first introduced me to this work, and the new smaller hardcover, which I've seen the interiors, they're horrible. Sorry if you have it. It's just they're trash. Like they don't look anything like the actual artwork. Like the simple line weight, everything is overbled. None of the fine details. Like if you look at this book, and I love having this capacity to do this. If you look at this book and you see the fine lines that are going on in this, it's extraordinary. And I can tell you that I know this book is accurate because when I went to the Guillermo del Toro exhibit in Toronto, they had the originals for this on display. You can actually see the video I took of me looking at the artwork that was being exhibited there. So I've actually seen most of the originals to this book. And this book is a very, very accurate reproduction of them. Really fantastic stuff. So I wanted to show this and talk about this because this was, when people talk about work they saw in their 20s, for me it was in college, that impacted you and had a profound impact on the way you thought about art. This would be that book. This would be that book. There was Jeff Darrow's artwork that with the Ling Claire style. I loved Big Guy and Rusty the Boy Robot. That was right up my alley. It wasn't the most mind-bending story, or was it coherent? I mean, I don't think there was a lot of story there, but the artwork was insane. Loved Hard Boiled, of course. I thought that was a cool story by Darrow. But Dave Stevens' Rocketeer had a huge impact on me. Madman by Mike Allred had a huge impact on me. But this was just something we all looked at and were like, this is the most incredible thing. Have you seen this? Have you seen this book? And it's a legacy on a generations of artists can't be overstated. Look at this stuff. And I've had the good fortune, speaking of John Malin, I've had the good fortune of being on streams where John and I and Shane are looking at Bernie Wrightson work. And I've been actually looking at a lot of his work, and even work that is not well regarded by Bernie Wrightson fans. And I think that no matter what he's doing, there's always something in there that's worth looking at. And there's something in there that's worth appreciating. I remember the first Bernie Wrightson book I got, I didn't even know was a Bernie Wrightson book when I learned who Bernie Wrightson was, because it looked nothing like what you think of Bernie Wrightson stuff looking like. And that was Batman the Cult, which just got a brand new re-release. So I remember thinking, why did he draw Batman the Cult like that? And looking back on it, it dawned on me that I think he was looking at what David Mazzucchelli did with Batman Year One, but in particular what Frank Miller did with The Dark Knight Returns. And he was trying to do his own take on that kind of Frank Miller, more raw, more high contrast, rougher ink work than he had done, and leave a little bit of room for a very amazing painter, Bill Ray, who did the colors. and did backgrounds for Samurai Jack, traditional media backgrounds for Samurai Jack, and Ren and Stimpy. Incredible backgrounds. So it was almost like they were trying to do the Miller, Lynn, is it Lynn Varley thing? I'm totally blanking on her name. And it just didn't quite work out. Sean, since you're twisting my arm to get this, I'm going to need you to verify the IDW release authenticity before I buy. Yeah. The IDW, I don't think there's an IDW release yet for this book. If there's a release for it, it's not a good one. This is going to be a Dark Horse edition. Aaron will build him up and tear him down like no other. Yeah, I know. They have a tortured relationship. So let's take a look at this. Now, if there's a handful of things in this book that are just astounding, which is the way that sunlight reacts when it's reflecting off of snow and the impact it has in the shadows. This is just gorgeous stuff, guys. I mean, this is just, to me, this is incredible. The way the sun and the way his hatching, which I can get you a little closer to, how he breaks the lines in this and allows it to just sort of have the sun cutting through it is incredible. Yeah, he's up there for sure for me. Yeah, he's up there for sure. Yeah, Shadowhawk Talks saying Wrightson is my #1 illustrator, penciler, artist overall. You can't go wrong with him. I'm sure Stephen Rockwood likes him too. I know Stephen Rockwood likes the pen and ink stuff, although I think he might be on a Gustave Doré kick right now, which I'm all too happy to increase, because Gustave Doré is incredible. So you've got things like that in this book. One I was just looking at, if I can find it here. God, that one's good. I mean, every single one of these is good. If I stop every 5 seconds, we'll never get going. Wait, those lines are all by hand. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And he would scrap pages, by the way, if he made mistakes, which is ludicrous to me. In terms of, like, he did not want to use any whiteout. I've seen the originals, or he used very little if he did at all. Look at that, guys. Look at the directional lines on the collar. How good is that? Absolutely ridiculous. Now you guys know why it's so stressful to get a high quality stream out, because if I show you this stuff, also Franklin Booth is pretty great. You ain't kidding. Franklin Booth, huge influence on Bernie Wrightson, and I think some Gustave Doré, but Franklin Booth would be his #1 influence according to him. But here you have a scene where you've got these wood carvings inside of this school, sort of room with the teacher, and then you've got people sitting up in and amongst all of this stuff. Beautifully done, and this was done in 1977. So 1 year after I was born is when these illustrations were done, and they are still influencing generation after generation of artists. But here you go. This is perhaps one of my favorite illustrations by Bernie Wrightson, and it's one of my favorites because it's absolutely insane. Yeah, they did. Every single one of these pages took forever. When people go, "Why is it taking so long?" I don't actually say that, but when when I'm looking at artwork, sometimes I'm like, I know why it's taking so long. But do you happen to know what book about drawing light and shadows Ethan had? Oh gosh, a few weeks ago. He said it was for those who want to be autistically accurate. Let me see. Light and shadow, or light and shade. Don't know. That's a good thing. It could have been any number of things. I mean, it wasn't Bern Hogarth's Light and Shadow, was it? Because there's all of the framed ink books that are really good. There's things like that, but I'm not sure. But look at this piece right here. Here's what gets me. He did not use white for this. He just left the dots because he didn't want a completely black background. And the dots are in some kind of insane perspective. Look at that. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous to ink that. And then look at the opposite page. He hatches until there's almost nothing left, but he did the same thing. He just kept going on the other side. And all of the values on these pages and on this page are 100% on point. I mean, just look at that. That is incredible. That is just incredible. And I think, yeah, it actually makes it look interesting. It really does. It really does. Yeah, that image alone should sell anybody. You're absolutely right, Corey Landis. The 7th grade horror enthusiast in me would be going wild right now with this work, 100%. And amen, Spaceman. Amen. It's such a great book to look at for inspiration, and that's what I want to do with these streams, guys. You are in my studio, and again, in case you need a little bit of a reminder, this is where you are, okay? You're at my home base, here in the heart of Lovecraft country. We're looking at books just like you would if you were a student and I had you looking at books and I was talking to you about books. It's the same kind of thing, and it's all based on and built around the importance of inspiration. And inspiration to me and curiosity, and Guillermo del Toro said this, and it always stuck with me when he was talking about his Bleak House, which is where he had his collection. He has 2 houses now. And he said the lifeblood of imagination is curiosity. And I'm curious as a cat, which is why my friends call me Whiskers. But he does more research and looking into things. And sometimes, yeah, that was weird. That was very weird. I can stare at this stuff for hours. Amen. How does the paper not break? I don't know how the man doesn't break. I mean, because this is some crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And I do think that you have to be curious. And here's another example of lighting. And this was very much referenced in the movie. It's a famous image from the original book, and so that's why everyone references it. But look at those ink lines. The fact that he did, if I can make this work here, shoot, gotta move this. The fact that he did a pattern on the fabric as it goes out of light and shadow is absolutely unbelievable. And what he does with directional line to show the stitches and the uneven nature of the figure, this is mastery right here of pen and ink. This is absolute mastery of pen and ink and the art form itself. Just incredible. Yep. Absolutamente. So let me see here. There's one of my favorite images in here, and that's the one I want to, the last one I want to show because, well, actually, okay, 2 more. Shoot. I just want to keep going. 3 more. 3 more, then we're done. Can't stop, won't stop. Only a truly sick maniac says, I'm going to illustrate a snowy landscape with black ink. You have to be completely insane to attempt something like this. But he did. I'm going to make white snow. How are you going to do it? Black ink. Why would you do it? Like, why on earth would you attempt this? And yet, not only is it a beautiful composition, not only is it... let's talk again about why this version of the book is so important. The thinness of these lines that you're seeing right here, if these are thicker, and these are hair-thin lines, I think they look thicker on screen than they do in the actual book. Then you're losing the actual look of this thing. And what makes the book so great. Yeah, it's beautiful work. I found a copy of the graphic novel in Germany last year. It felt fitting. Yes, 100%. My brain hurts just thinking about it. And I'm the same way. I would have my students do Bernie Wrightson. I would print blue lines out of Bernie Wrightson stuff when I was teaching and have them use nibs to ink it to come to understand and appreciate line weight. And the purpose of it was twofold. One, you learn from the best stuff. And 2, you've gotta be humbled, man. You've got to be humbled. And I think too many people look at their work. Like, I always think about the best artwork. I never think who I'm better than, ever. I always think about where I want to go and what's great. And I'm content to go for it and reach for it regardless of whether I get to that destination or not. So this is the most comic booky illustration of the book. In terms of the shadow on the figures are all straight black shadows. But I love this illustration. I'm not even sure I could fit the anatomy in there perfectly. But because there's not a lot of detail, and because this illustration is about a sudden shock, not having a lot of detail makes it read fast. I mean, this sky is definitely detailed. But the starkness of this makes it have a much more of an aesthetic arrest. It's shocking as a experience to come upon this piece as it's supposed to be, as it's supposed to be in the book and in the illustration. It is a perfectly done illustration. So many of these pieces are perfect. If you did one of these in your life, there are a lot of artists who do perfectly great, competent work. But if someone is truly great, and they've done a truly great work of art, they are in a very rarefied air. And it's not something, the distance between, I remember my mentor, Brian Stelfreeze, was talking about N.C. Wyeth, who's one of the greatest illustrators in American history, one of the greatest American illustrators from the golden age of illustration, a student of Howard Pyle. And he said something to me that I'll never forget the last time I saw him. He's fine, but he was, the last time I saw him, most recent time I saw him, I'll say, fingers crossed, long may he live 1,000 years. But he said to me, he goes, the better I get, the more impossible N.C. Wyeth's work becomes. That's how good he is. The more you know, the more you realize there are things there that are just magic. They're just impossible. Wait a second, you're teaching us. I don't know if I'd say that, but I hope it's enjoyable for you guys. I don't know if you could do that digitally. It would look sanitized. Yeah, I think it would. But it's a strange thing. Here's the best way I could put it: the files for this book were scanned in. And so, in a sense, it passed through digital. So digital can understand and see this. But there's something about the input and the AI used for custom brushes and everything else that gets in the way of the hand of the artist. And so when I'm doing digital work, I use a lot of strategies to mitigate that as best as I can, because I work in traditional media, as you guys know, as well. But I just think that in a world where the technology makes these things easier, it's no closer to understanding mastery. It only can do consistent competence. And consistent competence does not get you talked about forever as an artist. It doesn't. There's a reason we're talking about Bernie Wrightson right now. Shoot, we still talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird's first comic book. What's the secret? There's something magical happens sometimes in an artist's work, and it can happen at any time. And whether it's Tolkien writing Lord of the Rings, and when people would say, "Oh, you're not going to have a career in the arts, you're older, you do this." I mean, what makes that happen? I don't know, but I'm just grateful that examples of it exist. And if someone were to say to me, "What's the purpose of what I'm doing here today?" and that I want to do with this type of show, is to really encourage people to build a library of things around them that they take joy from, inspiration from. Because when I sit in this room, I want to share the experience of sitting in this room with you guys. But don't come over. But I'm an introvert. But I want to share the experience of what books have done for me, because I didn't own a lot of books outside of comic books when I went off to college. And I thought libraries didn't have a lot of art books in Chattanooga where I was growing up at the time. Like, they just weren't. And so when the art books I was exposed to were ones that my college classmates have. That Rocketeer, and then they said, "Have you heard about Alphonse Mucha? Have you seen Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein?" That's what's so crazy about it. If we knew that we were now, many of us wouldn't have had the arrogance to need to start. True, but you know what's so funny about it? Here's what I'll tell you. There was a tour that was going through the college, at one of the colleges I taught at, and the parents said, "How do we know if our child is an artist?" And I mean, without missing a beat, like I am now, I said, they can't stop. It's not a choice. Because if you used your brain, there are much easier ways, or not even easier, there are much more reasonable ways to make money. And there's much more reasonable things to do with your time than absorb yourself in all the things this craft requires with no guarantees it goes anywhere. You know what I mean? Yes, the introvert creed. Do you know what I mean? And I need art, and I don't need art to give me, of course I mean also art Thibert, but I don't need art itself to give me anything. And because I have talent and skill for at it from an early age, it opened doors for me, and it set my life down a particular path. that I'm very, very happy with. But if you think, I know that you guys probably don't, because you guys know us and you spend time with us. Yeah, can't stop, won't stop, Timmy. You know, my brother. You know, us artist folks, right? There have been so many times when I have been frustrated with it and said, I just want to do something that's not so, complicated, and also the frustrations of rejections after rejections. Then you get the job, and then you do this. That's where my gratitude for what's going on here in Comicsgate is, and that's where my gratitude is for all the stuff we're talking about right now. It's because I can talk about it, and I'm free to talk about it. So here's the last one I'm going to show from this book because it's brilliant. An ink drawing of someone sitting out in the rain with breathtaking vertical lines defining the value and tone, and thus giving it this incredible sense of mood and this incredible sense of lighting, composition, drama, isolation. Everything in this is brilliant to me. Like, I love this illustration, and I used to show it to students, and I used to say, and I'll show it to anybody, I'll show it to all of you and go, I've never been one to look at something that requires a high level of skill and is difficult to do and think, I could do that, in the sense of in a whatever way, or Bernie, you know what I would have done? It's just not my style, right? As an artist, because I look at stuff and I go, there's probably so much going on there. I just need to spend time with it. And I see artwork that I think, oh, that could be different. And especially I see it with mine. I go, I should have done this, or I should have tried that. This is, that picture is moving 100%. Yeah, that is how you depict a wet day. And that picture is moving. And yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I didn't have any original artwork about 7 years ago. My walls are now covered in originals. I love hearing it. CG and indie art. I come home every day and just look around and absorb it, and I will die happy. Let me tell you something. On occasion, I've had my own artwork. There's one behind me, the tiger painting, because it just makes me smile and laugh. The meaning of it all. My hang in there cat painting. But the artwork that I have in my house is either portraits of my family, but most of the artwork isn't mine. It's artwork by my brother Nick. And when I come downstairs and I see one of his landscape paintings, it's so inspiring. I love my brother, man. He's a special talent. Nobody can do landscapes like him. He's the closest thing I've seen to someone who's an Isaac Levitan, the Russian tonalist landscape painter. He is a brilliant man. Have to bounce, Spaceman. You take care. Thanks, Sean. Great stream. Have a great night in the heart of Lovecraft country. I absolutely will, Spaceman. God bless you. You have a great night too. Yeah, exactly. A tree or umbrella. He could have. It makes sense. So yeah, so there we go. There's a little bit of Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein as well. Now I already talked about this a little bit. Thank you for the segue, Arcadia. But these are more things that I keep in the studio when I talk about, like, what are the stuff I have. I have books, I have movies, I have artwork, I have sketches, I've got figures and statues, anything that could be a source of inspiration for me, I try to keep around. And so I wanted to show you guys a book that's a part of the research I do when I'm writing and when I'm coming up with stories that I saw from a channel that really inspires me, which is a channel called Townsend's. It's a group of folks. They have, like, God knows how many million subscribers now, over 2 million maybe subscribers. Absolutely, man. God bless you, Spaceman. And you are very, very welcome. And one of the things about it is that he introduces me to things I wouldn't think of. And so I was interested in doing a take, not an accurate to the novel take, of Frankenstein for a while. And I wanted to learn about what it was like during that time to be on a boat, because there was an aspect of it that really involved the boat and the story of the boat in Frankenstein. And so I found memoirs of a seafaring life, and the narratives of William Spavins, I forget how you pronounce it. And so this is a journal that I got that is just a journal of somebody from that time. I had to track it down. And again, Townsend's, if you're not subscribed and you want to see some incredible, like, it really talks about the time when our country was born, the 18th century, the 1700s. And they're getting very excited to do stuff for the 250th anniversary of America, so I cannot wait to see what they do. But you've got watercolor sketches, you've got, you know, all of these details and the terms that were used during the time. Entering ropes knotted with diamond knots and covered with red, I don't even know how to pronounce that, are put down by the gangway steps, and the side is manned with a number of hands according to the superiority or inferiority of the officer ascending or descending it. Like, they just get into so much detail. And if you're passionate about history, I love pulp, pop culture, all sorts of craziness. All of this stuff, whatever tickles your fancy, guys, whatever you're interested in, should be a part of the stuff in your library. When you see something that strikes you and interests you, I always say, go and check it out. Go and grab it. And surround yourself with art and books. And get to know and spend some time hanging out with artists like us who make our work for, you know, the audience and for entertainment and for those kinds of things. So let's have a non sequitur because I believe in them. Let's talk about this book right here. Yet another example of what kind of things I keep in my book collection. Okay? How many of you guys know this artist? The art of Osamu Tezuka. God of manga. I didn't know that manga had a god. But having seen his work, I'm pretty sure it's true. When people talk about Jack Kirby, who is a legend and is brilliant and left a hell of a legacy in American pop culture, along with Stan Lee. Yep, food from the old days and how pioneers managed to feed themselves, cool stuff. They also show how they made bricks back in that day. They build a cabin if you're into that kind of stuff. Bro, I love Astro Boy stuff. This man's a genius, you know? Absolutely right. Now we're talking. We have the Southern God of manga in CG. Yes, we do. Of course we do. You know it. You know it's true. But so people, my book collection is outstanding because I'm interested in everything. That's it. I don't have a ton of space to work in. I'm going to be honest with you. I really overpack the space with stuff because I need a lot of stuff to keep me going. That's why, again, when I pan the camera over and you guys see, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of research and stuff, there's a lot of movies, right? So I always tell people that my favorite book of his, that's tough, it's either the adaptation of the story of the life of the Buddha, or it's, I know some people like Blackjack and people like other books like that. I love The Phoenix. Is a great story and really out there and nuts. I think that book is incredible. So I like a lot of stuff he does. And of course I love Astro Boy too. But this is a guy who was a force in animation. He was a force in so many things. And people don't see this. Yeah, his Kamen Rider work is amazing, Art Haida. Without Astro Boy, we wouldn't have Mega Man. Yes, that's true. Damn, I love Mega Man. That's true. Oh, yeah, Astro Boy. I knew he looked familiar. There you go. Yeah, I put Shitaro, oh my god, I can't pronounce names, up there with Tezuka. Yeah, absolutely. There's some great people working today, but this guy is in his own league. Astro Boy was the launch pad for so many anime archetypes. Yeah, and all those anime archetypes come from Walt Disney in America. America was the launch pad of this. This is Mickey Mouse with triangles. That's all it is. It's Mickey Mouse with triangles instead of circles for ears. That's why this character design exists. So yeah, that's how good Walt Disney was. Walt Disney can rightfully be credited for manga and what it became. And the West can. And that's true for almost all culture that you see can be credited to the West. Just with respect. That happens other places. But the biggest bit of idiocy that we have in the West at the moment is the intellectualism of apartheid. Which is to say, other people's culture shouldn't be mixed together. That's cultural appropriation. All artwork evolves and goes global. It's not about to put that out there is just so stupid. Yeah, I'm 100%. Yeah, I could say George Harriman, who's a perfect example of different cultures mixing together. And his creation, Crazy Cat, without that, Walt Disney wouldn't be there. And without Carl Laemmle Sr. and Universal Pictures, Walt Disney wouldn't be there. Like, you could go on and on and on. Max Fleischer, you could talk about all of these great people who have done incredible work here in the States. And Tezuka is a giant, though. You have to respect Tezuka. He was doing 16 pages of manga a day. He was drawing a manga page on the way to the airport. Like, the guy was a machine. But he had such a huge impact. And I want to talk a little bit about, if I may, I want to talk a little bit about him, because I think anyone who's seriously interested in manga should really begin with him and understand how he got there. Stephen Rockwood, we must be psychic, and also you crack me up. You beautiful, beautiful man, you. This right here is what it's about. You'll notice that there's no need to really be in a crazy costume, too, by the way, to draw manga. I mean, yes, the beret and hat is a little funny, but what are you going to do? Look at Blackjack, guys. How many manga archetypes came just from the idea of Blackjack? Incredible. Look at this stuff. That is the face of genius. One of my favorite memes of all time is Osamu Tezuka meme where he's got his beret on, he's smiling and tilting his head back, and it says, "In the time it took you to read this meme, Osamu Tezuka drew 15 pages of manga." Very true. I hope I can rock sweaters like Tezuka someday. Yes, get your sweaters on. Get on a cardigan and get serious. Let's see here. Indeed, the commies are the ones that preach that cultural appropriation. Yes, because they don't want progress. Tezuka, yes. God. Ishino Mori, I'm probably pronouncing it horribly, and Go Nagai are the godfathers of manga. Yeah, that goes without. I think that's a safe thing to say. I think there's some important names in there, but here's his life story right here, and here's a look at it. Okay, so this is a sketch by him as a kid from 1937, and oops, sorry, you guys can't see it. I gotta move the camera. This is a sketch by him from 1937 in the margins of one of his books. And he was already doing some simple kind of cartooning. One of the cards from the Humans on Mars series drawn while Tezuka was in the 5th grade around 1939. That's what's above, right here. Shoot. Camera needs to go back. This is a big book. So right here, this was drawn when he was in the 5th grade. He's already drawing manga. God, I gotta figure out a way to... I'm gonna move the camera up. I think I have to. Here we go. Or maybe I can tilt this a little. There we go. That's better. So there it is. And then here's another sketch right here. There he is in his elementary school uniform. And then opposite page, painted sometime in 1940, looking back upon 6 years of school life, shows a developing assurance in the use of shadows and awareness of proportion. So here he is, his work in 1940. Now, let me just see when he was born. Osamu Tezuka's brother was born in 1930 and his sister in 1932. When was this man born? His first visit to Shinto shrine. Okay, so he was born in 1928. There you go. So he was born in 1928. So the opposite page is 1940. So when he illustrated this, am I correct in saying he would have been 12? So I think he would have been 12 years old when he illustrated this. Yeah, it's almost 100 years ago. Yeah, we're almost at 100 years. And you better believe Japan's going to do something in honor of his 100th birthday. So I want you to think about this. 14. There we go. So take a look at that. 14 years old. He's breaking out the watercolors, the paper, doing calligraphy and illustrating figures. Okay? Now I'm going to need you guys to keep track of his birthday and how old he would have been as we look at these. The evolution of his work. Take a look at that. So he's doing some little scribbles and sketches. Here's where we get to the insane stuff that I would love to see more young aspiring... Oh, sorry, never mind. 12. He was 12 in 1940. Okay. Here you go. So he was 12. Let's understand this a little bit. So if he was 12 in 1940, he was 15 in if that makes sense. in 1943. These are his ink and watercolor studies of butterflies he was recording in his notebook. Let's take a look at these for a second. This is the difference between people who are really, really good and really curious and people who are making manga and people who are making otaku art, or however you pronounce it, fan art. It's the level of curiosity, interest, and study that goes into it. What I describe fan art as being is inspired by your favorite manga series, and it's your fan fiction of it. This is nuts. Yeah, this is better than most cameras could do at the time. You're absolutely right. Sogondese. But try to find a way to pronounce your name that obscures it a little bit, but out of respect. Because it is a Cal reference, and I appreciate that. So now we're going to go over here, and we're going to look at his Beatles sketches in ink. And his handwriting, for heaven's sake. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Show me an artist who can break out some water. I don't care if they do their finishes in digital or traditional. That's not even the point. Show me an artist who can break out a sketchbook, can do accurate work like this, and it's driven by curiosity, not a need to go, I'm going to do bugs like Tezuka. Like, yeah, I mean, there's something about that. We do get inspired by other artists. But once you learn how to illustrate and draw things in a remotely representational fashion, you then are making choices. You're making different choices when you cartoon. And I've seen so many people who can cartoon really, really well and also do stuff that is very realistic. And by the way, that is not required. That is not required. I don't want to make any of this sound like it's required. I'm just saying, grasp how good these people were and realize they weren't making manga books about manga purely. All the great stuff is telling stories about things, and it's influenced by other cultures, nature, science, history. In the case of Otomo, I think it was inspired by French science fiction comics for sure when he did Akira. Yeah, that handwriting is even scarier, isn't it? Those are paintings of beetles. Damn it, I thought they were photos. Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, not kidding. Yeah, that handwriting is absurd. I find the handwriting more frightening, if I'm being honest. My God. So that's 15 years old. Now, what's happening when he starts doing comics again? Well, there we go. He's doing comics. This stuff is 1945. I don't know if it would have been around the same time as... I'm sure it was around the same time as, Max Fleischer's stuff had already come out and Disney stuff had already come out. And, of course, there may have even been... definitely been Hergé around this time, who very well could have been an influence. My daughter has been doing that, but with birds. I love it, Cursed Art Creation. See, that put a smile on this art teacher's face. Did you see that? It's like you can see his room in the reflection of those beetles. You're absolutely right. It's kind of scary. Absolutely scary. The first major Tezuka hit, The New Treasure Island, published in 1947. Let's do the math. If he was 15 in 1943, 4 years later, he would have been 19 when he did his first big hit book. The New Treasure Island. And if it's The New Treasure Island, you have to assume it was based on the Western canon. It was based on Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. So you can see how this European stuff is influencing it. Did you watch Atanshai's breakdown of his Frankenstein? No, I have not yet. Is it good? If it's good, I'll check it out for sure. Absolutely. Then we see New Worlds, new manga, comic capers, student life when he was studying, I'm sure, as a student and studying various things. My God, his handwriting is painfully good. You can see the proficiency, the paste ups for the lettering here, and his cartooning skill is starting to evolve, and I'm certain that a lot of this cartooning skill is coming from both Disney and Disney Comics. There's no getting around it. Oh, he doesn't like it? Oh, for heaven's sake. Well, he's wrong. Don't worry then. He'll be all right. Star Maker, yeah, Tezuka carried the influence and ideas of his youth throughout his life, and you can sort of see these sketches. You can see utterly American work, American comic influence. If you see this as manga, then you've been brainwashed into not understanding this is American animation. This is Betty Boop. This is early Disney. This is, yes, the small noses and little things like that, but those things were happening in early animation. There you go. Opposite stars of Mushi Studio in ranking order with their fees and their agency affiliations. This is why having books are good. You can see this stuff, man. It's so great. I love it. Like, this is the look into things. Then you get Blackjack. And this is basically the character that every teenager draws at some point. You know, scar across, here's your Frankenstein surgeon. Scar across the face. By the way, what do you think the reason is I could make a really good sequitur here? Do you see it? First person in the chat to see it will be lauded, will be cheered. What do you got? What do you see when you see this? And knowing the importance of having breadth of influence. What do you guys got in the chat? Come on now. Having me as a teacher, you were going to learn a ton, but it would also be incredibly exhausting because I did not screw around. And I love to ask people if they knew what they were talking about when it came to things like manga. People would always talk to you when you're at a certain point. They'll assume you're not curious at their own peril. Now, you might not be curious, but if you are, Betty Boop, don't remind me, Sean, saw a photo of a horror movie. Yes. So many, talentless morons playing with the public domain. Yes, indeed. Clearly, Sonic the Hedgehog. It looks like the Doctor Who to me. Yeah, that's close. That's close. All right. One sec. Let's have our minds blown just a little bit, okay? It's important. That's what we need in this world is stuff that's going to be interesting, stuff that's going to be exciting, and stuff that's hopefully going to be a little exciting. The Phantom. Look at these people. Captain Harlock. Yep, you're right. A little bit of that. Okay. Let's look at Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I want you to take a look at Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein's face. Do you see, if I can make this work, the scar running across his face at an angle with the blue skin? Do you guys see that? Guillermo del Toro was a massive fan of manga, video games, anime, classic literature going back centuries, so don't think it's just about I have anime over here, comics over here, and that means no. You got to have history there. This is what we call a seemingly non sequitur that's actually more of a tangent, because that's why we have so much average art out there. You knew it. There you go. What's up, Boombots? How you doing? Boombots, this stream is for you, my friend. This new show series is for you. I'm here to inspire. When you were talking about that the other day, it really got me thinking. So let's start asking ourselves, as we look at all this stuff, how big, there's a better look at it right there. Do you see that? The stitching at a diagonal with blue. Now let's go back to Tezuka. How good was Tezuka, Shanth, you say? Or you don't say, but I'm going to project into you, which isn't good, this isn't healthy. How big of an influence was Tezuka? How big of an impact was he? He was a huge influence on Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick reached out to him to be the concept artist on 2001, A Space Odyssey, but Tezuka was busy and had to turn him down. AI, artificial intelligence, is essentially a Stanley Kubrick telling of Astro Boy. It's unbelievable how influential artists are to one another and how the greats get noticed. Think about that. Think about how cool that is. They also gave Frankenstein on one side a white lock of hair to show that he was patched together. On the same side, by the way. Do I know this was the intent? Do I know this was a reference point? No, but it sure as heck seems like it's, how do I put it? Two things existing do not prove causality, and I forget what the dang fallacy of that is. What's it called? Is it like the A and B, A plus B fallacy? I forget what it's called. But did you, how does it look in the movie? These still images don't sell me on the monster makeup. It's great in the movie. The movie is where it all comes together. Yeah, I recently watched a playthrough of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the movie-based game on SNES. It wasn't really that bad. Well, there you go. It might not have been. I saw the movie, but I have not played the game. But this is masterful, Disney-esque, Fleischer-esque American cartooning. Where it went from here, heck, I can even see a little bit of Aang in his Buddha adaptation and the X on the forehead in Avatar, The Last Airbender. So you can see, I mean, I'm not saying these things, again, are causal. I'm saying this is what you good stuff tends to be aware of the things that are going on in the culture. And so here you go. And all of this understanding is a big part of Springball. That's the thing that gets... Yes, correlation does not imply causation, saying, thank you, my God, Sugondes. Sugondes. That's what your name's going to be for me. Stupid. Fucking hell. But this is just good cartooning and great cartooning, and that's something that we don't want to lose. And so, yes, when someone says to me, how do you get to the point to where you're a huge influence on animation? You're a huge, or sorry, not huge influence. Look at what comes in books like this, like How I Make Different Hatching. I mean, this stuff is so easy. And thank you again for correlation does not imply causation. God dang. That was driving me nuts. You cannot argue that there's not enough evidence out there for you to learn how to draw, and you need someone to ask someone a question about it. Yes, when your work gets to a certain level, you should start showing it to people and all that kind of stuff. But the advice I would always give students and anybody wanting to learn is a simple one. Don't ask them questions you could have learned the answers to if you had Googled their name for 5 seconds. And don't start the conversation with a demonstration of your commitment and your work ethic. Don't show them a bunch of mediocre work and say, look at how much mediocre stuff I do. Work until you get stuff that's competent. Have people around you who give you feedback. It's such a better way to go. I had very harsh criticism, and I was very harsh on my own work when I was growing up, but it's not like, oh my God, if you're your worst critic of your own work, you really need to find some better critics. Because I'm very hard on my work, but I don't consider that to be where I get my feedback from. I have some incredibly skilled people around me that I show my stuff to. And I should say this, at a certain point in your age, you're not exactly going around like you are looking for criticism when you're younger. But when you're younger, it's essential. It's how you get good. I asked my mentor why he devoted so much time in the studio and giving me critique and feedback last time I saw him, most recent time I saw him. And he said, we didn't treat you differently than anybody else who came into our studio. We shredded every single young person who came in to show their artwork. You just kept coming back. And the more you came back, the more we realized you could hang with us. That's how it works. Food for thought, aspiring comic skaters. Food for thought. So here you go. Here is the journey to mastery, the journey to making an enormous, we could talk about that all day, couldn't we? A journey to a massive contribution in the arts. Just because, I always say this too, I mean, at my height on Instagram, I had 35,000 or 38,000 maybe followers on Instagram. Just during the time when Instagram, you could really get traction on your stuff. And I'll tell you the same thing I always tell people, followers ain't dollars. It isn't. I was able, with my fan base outside of Comicsgate, to crowdfund 2 books that raised, I think, respectively, 8,000 plus and 7,000 plus. The Comicsgate audience is a resource, incredible resource that's here to introduce people to the people who want to actually buy books and support artists. That's what you guys do when you're channel members, when you're sending super chats, when that stuff's going into brushes. I do not, what's the word I'm looking for? My oil wells in Texas do not pay for me to do this stuff. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Kimba, absolutely right, infamous Mr. Kirst. Absolutely right. Yep. The Broken Ink Brush Dojo, you're absolutely right, man. I've always been my worst critic in everything. I only see the flaws, ignored a lot of praise. Well, here's the thing. Let's not even take worst critic. A critic who can look at your stuff and actually give you usable information to improve, and more importantly, can do a demonstration of what's wrong for you, is priceless. Most criticism is only about talking, and it's not about actually making marks on your artwork and saying you need to fix this, in a demo, which, by the way, that is gold. If you ever find anyone, there's very few people who do it. I don't even do it anymore much, because it's you only takes a couple of really exhausting experiences or decades of experiences with people before you go, you know what, I think I'm done. You know? And so I do it very sparingly. Very sparingly. It's just mind-blowing that he can at any moment switch to making a photorealistic drawing from the lighthearted cartoon manga style, and there you go. That's the definition. Compare Hergé's figures to his backgrounds, and you can see the genius in it. You can see the genius. That's what makes it great, and that's what makes him great. Look at some of those backgrounds in the Buddha adaptation. Most people cannot find teachers who give real critiques and are harsh on them, and that's because the blowback culturally from students having nervous breakdowns or students going, this teacher hates me, and trying to get you canceled or fired, or saying, it's like nobody's going to do that anymore, and it only hurts the students. When people see, and this is just some food for thought as we have these kinds of things, if you're an art school student and you see people giving a teacher a hard time for critiquing and saying, we've got to give this person trouble, they're screwing you over. They are. Because if somebody is good, and if that teacher is good, and if that teacher is skilled, they already know the information. The worst thing you can do is shut down that faucet of information that you could have. Look at this stuff, man. This guy was good on so many levels. Yep. I'm a student at the How to Draw Comics Academy. Excellent. And Clayton Barton will go over our work weekly with feedback and critique. That's fantastic. You have to develop a tough skin and try to implement the changes. Absolutely right. Yeah. It's the worst. How do I put it? It's the equivalent of going to a dentist. And the dentist says, you need a root canal. And you saying, but I don't want a root canal. The dentist said, you're fine. You're going to be in the emergency room next. You know, you can medicate any medical situation with morphine, but it's not going to solve the problem. You know, it's just going to be less painful. So here you go. And he's looking at all kinds of movies. He was, you know, getting awards at Angoulême and being flown to Paris. So he was a global artist, and he was influenced by global arts. Look at this dude. He had his stuff together. Look at this. Him inside the studio. Astro Boy, which is an incredibly tragic story. Kid driving in a car, gets in a car accident. I believe this truck is used in Jeff Darrow's Hard Boiled, in case anybody's wondering. I'm pretty sure that was the truck. Grieving father has a robot built with the son's consciousness, or to replicate the son. This is insane. Loves the son, but then realizes he's a robot, and after a while tires of him, decides he doesn't like him anymore, and starts trying to destroy him. My God. Here's Frankenstein. Here's Mary Shelley. Then he's thrown in the trash. This is AI. This is Stanley Kubrick's AI. And he's already got the merchandising happening. Again, rock a sweater and a turtleneck and chain. That was Tezuka's secret. You understand? Turtle, neck, and chain. Don't do what I did. Turtle, chin, and t-shirt. Don't do it. It's not worth it. You know, have a chin if you can. Let me see here. Oh my God. How do I get this angle right? I gotta move my camera back. There you go. Your average studio. Probably every single person in this studio has a lot of skill. None of them are Tezuka. That's what makes people great. That's what makes people great. Like, understand greatness. Most people aren't skilled enough to be any one of the people in this photo. To think one is Tezuka is in active madness. To think one does not have stuff to learn, and to overestimate one's ability is suboptimal. And again, for people who have actually had, you know, a critical education and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, Crazy Cat showed us animation, Katie Did's channel of Astro Boy. It was hilarious. There you go. The origin story of Truckoon. Yes, indeed. Turtle power. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Circus. Yep. Oh, yes, the circus. Yes, Pinocchio. I'm sorry, Pinocchio. Yes, indeed. You've got Pinocchio. You've got the whole thing. And then, of course, how many different ways can I push things? He's drawing this stuff at light speed. He's exploring different things. He is all over the place. He is doing paintings. At one point, he was incredibly destitute, the Dark Decade, and a friend of his would buy his paintings just to keep the people coming for his rent. Nobody knows that part of the story. You know? Nobody knows that part of the story. It's in the... This comes with a DVD documentary on him. It's not like it's a secret, and this is an English book, and the documentary has English subtitles, and it tells the entire story of this guy's, you know, difficulties in the middle of his life, financially. Like, the journey is always going to be a complicated one for great artists, including Kurosawa. But this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the art form, and all this stuff ties together. And it's incredibly important. You know, from animation to the drawings to the various places that he goes and his work and in his stories. This guy is on quite an incredible level. Dear God. The dawn of the darkness right there. Oh, God help us all. Also important, by the way, this is the Tezuka Osamu Manga Museum. This is, allow me if I may. Yes, working through destitution. If you can't stop making art, that's either means you're crazy or you're an artist. I can tell you this, I have put very hard standards on my artwork where I say, I mean, shoot, that's even evidenced by how much of my career and my life I spent teaching. I have got to take care of my family. I've got a young family, and I've got to do what I need to do, and I'm a good teacher. Will it mean I do more demonstrations and I get to do my own artwork a lot of times? Yeah. Will it mean I get less sleep if I want to do my artwork? Yeah. But I self-published 2 art books while commuting 180 miles of driving 3 days a week. Like, I mean, I drove 90 miles up, 90 miles home, 90 miles up so I could take my kids to school in the morning while doing 2 art books, freelance jobs, and concept art. Like I said, when people talk about the busyness, I always try to show you guys a fraction of the work I do, but it's certainly by no means all. So this is the Tezuka Osamu Manga Museum. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with America right now that drives me nuts. We should have a museum dedicated to Winsor McCay. Winsor McCay is Gertie the Dinosaur, Little Nemo in Slumberland. We should have not just what Eastman did, which sadly is closed. I had the opportunity to go there. The museum, the Words and Pictures Museum of Cartoon Artwork. We should have our comic book superstars, our historically important artists in animation and comics. We should have more places to celebrate their work. And there really should be in a major city a Winsor McCay museum that hosts comic book artwork and celebrates our incredible legacy of producing culture here. You know, I know there's the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. I know George Lucas is making a museum of narrative art, and that's a step in the right direction. But other cultures who have been making what actual comic books are, because we invented that art form, less time than we have. There's an Hergé museum in Belgium. Belgium is tiny. Why do they have a museum and our heroes don't? It's because we don't have the will or the drive to, because we're so busy. And I could talk about this. This is the craziest thing. What upsets me in some ways the most is the lack of respect that culturally that has been encouraged for the last 2 generations, the generations after mine, of respect for veterans and more skilled veterans in the field. Thank God I didn't have that, or I would never have been able to take the criticism, grow, and make relationships with older artists. I have some hope that that's turning and changing, But think about the way that people in the mainstream industry treat artists over a certain age who have 5 times the skills they have. That's alarming to me. You know, I've worked in concept art, I've worked in comics, I've worked in education. I know what I'm doing. And it's such a terrible idea to have such little reverence for both for highly skilled people who are older than you. They have so much that, oh gosh, sorry guys. This thing is barely on there, that phone. They have so much they can offer. Yeah, comic art is not easy to do, and it's not easy to do great stuff. And having relationships with people is crazy. And no female director. Listen, I was talking about that today with my missus. I'm convinced the people who do those hires are in on the heist. There's no other way I can see it. And that's a mistake. Yes, people take comic books artists for granted. I think they also take skilled artists for granted. The decision, there were many factors in my decision to leave education. But there was this one day I'll never forget. It was, and it was a huge factor. It was when the Discord culture, guys, if I could give any young, and by young I mean younger than me, artists, any advice, do not be in private chat rooms talking about artists and trying to conspire to bring people down. It is such a bad idea. I was giving advice like this when I was teaching 20 years ago, before Discord existed, before any of this stuff existed, just in general. Because it always gets out there. And more importantly than that, it's not what professionals typically do. It's just not. And what the problem is that once people suspect you might be the kind of person who does that, they will instantly not trust you and want to share work with you and share their knowledge with you, because they'll imagine that it's going to be thrown back in their face. And so here's my instance of teaching. And I doubt the student will see this, but they should know they were definitely a part of my decision. I was teaching a class, and I think it was during the lockdowns, and I was giving feedback to a senior graduating student. He said something, I listened to it, and I was giving my response, and the student, who was an underclassman, who I guess had been on some Discord server where it sounded smart, going, Sean doesn't let us talk enough when I'm giving you advice about something. And, or whatever it was. And she goes, was that what you were trying to say? Because I feel like you weren't listening, and I think we should let him talk. And I said, okay. You run this. Go ahead. And, and the student goes, well, no, I just wanted to hear what he finished. I was like, well, no, I'm good. I'm good being quiet. Like, they pay me to be here and help you guys, but they'll pay me for you guys to talk to each other too. I don't know why that benefits you. And she just goes, no, I mean, was there something else you were saying? And he goes, yes, I'm about to graduate and I wanted to hear what Shanth had to say. I won't be able to ask him any questions in 3 months. And then she just was like, totally turned purple. And I just thought, do I really want to be dealing with this? Like, I'm trying to give you a life vest and you're complaining about the color. These are the things. These are the things. Yeah, and please do not level up. Very true. Exactly. Those private chats are mostly, sewing circles for toxicity. Yes. That is good advice on Discord. Yeah, it's not worth it. You have actual relationships with people and don't burn those bridges. I don't ever have to worry about what I said or didn't say about somebody on Discord or in a private chat, because I haven't. It's really nice to know that. It's peace of mind. Go for a walk or just talk to people. It's good for your soul, man. When you guys come in here, I am happy to have you in here. I want to share these books with you. That's it. I want to hopefully make you have a better day, or help you to have a better day, or make you think of something you haven't thought of. And oftentimes too, the dialogue things that happens, you guys go, have you heard of this thing? And I'll make a note of it and I'll go check it out. That's the fun thing about that. You just don't want to quit your yakking, Shanth. Says Stephen Rockwood, and he's allowed to say that because Stephen Rockwood's been ride or die with me. He's like a brother. And by the way, subscribe to his channel too. I hate people like that. What would definitely not have enough life vests to share with her. Yeah, I've watched people meeting professionals and burn bridges with them in front of me. And even when I was a young teenager, I was absolutely shocked. So here is what you get when you honor your artists in Japan and in Belgium. You get a life-size statue of the cartoon version of them that's an animatronic, and a beautiful gallery of all the thousands of comics they've done. How cool is that? I want to visit, of the things I want to do, I want to visit the Studio Ghibli Museum. I want to, I'd love to visit the Osamu Tezuka Museum. I'd love to even go to the Ghibli theme park. I want to see where brilliant people do things. Call of the Night and Grimgar for the Skies. Yeah, I mean, guys, don't see anything you would not be uncomfortable having printed in front of you on the New York Times. Think of it that way. Yeah, one of the best bits of advice ever to be ignored. You know? I mean, it's bad enough with AI. People can make things up, right? But but you know, when you're doing it, it's, you're closing doors for yourself. Don't do it. Just don't do it. It's craziness. And it's a prison you don't want to be in. I was reading this really great quote about friendship I thought was fantastic, and they said and it was it was one of the Stoic philosophers. I think it was Seneca. And Seneca said something to the effect of that when you have a real relationship with a friend, when you're talking and sharing things with them, it should be no different than if you were with yourself, which is to say that you have absolute confidence that that conversation is between the two of you. That was never really a shocking thing. Yeah, New York Slimes is trash anyway. Yeah, don't get me started on that. Let's go, Sean. Woo! That's right, infamous Mr. Cursed. I can't do Shane's woo that loud right now because my voice is gone, but I used to do a hell of a rebel yell when I was growing up in Tennessee. So don't judge. Yeah, let me see here. Sean, just be aware of the cultural differences. Don't take naughty pictures. Yeah, with the life-size figures of the Ghibli Museum. Common mistake for tourists. Yeah, the Japanese and the folks in Singapore don't play around. If you do that stuff, it's not going to go well for you, right? But I love seeing these things like storyboards. I have the complete Miyazaki storyboards for several of his films over there. And maybe I'll be showing that on a future stream. But I just wanted to point out the fact that there is so much great stuff to be looking at. Don't let your life be don't let your life be. Make sure you're including concise things like a documentary on Osamu Tezuka. Make sure you're studying all of the great stuff that's out there to look at. Make sure that the amount of art influences you have go back at least 100 years or so. Like, have influences that are dead. Have influences that are from entire different times than you. People like Mary Shelley. Have a lot of cool stuff because that's what these folks had. This guy came from a samurai nobility family and had a whole history that was tied to him and his work. And I can't say they probably were thinking manga was the way this should go, but he was very aware of his culture and he was very aware of the West, and he was a very well-read, very curious and interesting person. There's, of course, a spread from the Phoenix chapter. What a beautiful... Sorry, I've got that out of frame. How great is that? To Japan, indeed, Mr. Curse. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go to Japan. Comicsgate meetup. And I know Ethan's talking about doing a Comicsgate convention I think it's in Jersey, in Atlantic City or something like that. And once they get the times down for that, God willing and time willing, I'll be talking to Mrs. Engetti about that. You might see us down there. I'm very interested because I'd like to meet some of you guys. I think it would be so much fun to get together. So yeah. So what is this? What does something like this book right here have to do with this book right here? Game recognizes game. I don't know. Great work. The more, and this obviously has to do with this. There's so much great stuff out there you could be learning from, and I am so grateful for all of the books that I have. Guys, collect really cool books. And Stephen Rockwood, by the way, let me tell you this. Have influences that are dead does not mean exactly. If I'm your influence, please, why? And then please don't make that happen. I'll have to come to Comicsgate Convention to have you sign my first printing of Springball. I'll be happy to do it. Be my pleasure. Be my absolute pleasure to sign anything you guys have that you want me to sign. He said around summer, I'm down, even if it's Jersey. Art Haida, you're cracking me up. But yeah, there's so much great stuff out there, and collect the stuff that you like. When I'm making my books for you guys, it's a book of, and that's why I have my mentor's books, all of his books. It's time that you spend with somebody, and then you're getting the work that they make. I'm a huge fan of Townsend's, and I've owned, broke one of them, 2 Townsend's mugs, and I always want to get stuff from them, and I support their YouTube and their Patreon because I think that Townsend's has brought so much joy to my life. And when I see you channel members, guys, sorry to be cheesy, but it puts a huge smile on my face when I see you guys in here. And Stephen Rockwood, my dear, I was so thrilled that you liked the Gustave Doré book. That made my day. I know that's probably incredibly lame, but that's how I roll. It made my day to know that you had gotten that book and that it was what you hoped it would be. Do let me know. Oh, I'm hoping there will be a blackjack workshop at the convention. Yeah. The thing is that when people... Oh, by the way, I noticed one of the wolves had yellow eyes like the monster. You're absolutely right. Would it have been an early experiment? What I think that was more likely to be was just a reference to him considering whether that's what he was. That was the nature of him. One of the things that kills the dear old man, and the dear old man, even in death, was forgiving. It's beautiful. It is a great book. I think the problem with a lot of people is, like, I'll show you this other book I'm looking at right now, is that when people have a gambling addiction, even if you show them something like this this book by Osamu Tezuka, they see cards. And that's terrible. So if any of you guys right now don't see a comic book, but you see a hand of cards, you may have a gambling problem. So just bear that in mind, guys. You know, yeah, it is a great book. And because I must have at least one time where I get up during a stream to grab something. Hang on. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for your patience. Because I must, heavens, do this. If you guys don't know, subscribe to his YouTube channel. Stephen Rockwood is a pen and ink artist. And when I saw this book, I absolutely, of course, thought of Stephen Rockwood. Because it's a tremendous collection of the work of Gustave Doré. And it's incredibly affordable. Okay, that is definitely a better artistic interpretation. There you go. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. Marbled pages, and it is not expensive. Stephen Rockwood, what is it going for? I don't know. But Gustave Doré is just an absolutely brilliant artist. Look at the let me see if I can get you guys close enough. Look at the lines in the clouds here in this work. It is absolutely incredible. Etching, pen and ink sketches, cartooning, things that would also influence Winsor McCay. I mean, there is so much brilliance in this man's stuff. Look at this. How good is that? Just incredible. And so, yes, I was thrilled. It was a bit more expensive in Canada, actually. Sorry, Stephen. To me, it's one of the best priced books, and I guarantee you, Stephen, it will be selling for a lot more. It's one of those books that comes out, it's beautiful. You find it for nothing and clearance stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like $300. That's what happens with these books. It was a bit more expensive in Canada, actually. Sorry to hear it. It's going for $31 on Amazon right now. It's on my wish list on there, absolutely. Cursed Art Creations, it is great. His biblical illustrations are imprinted in my memories, and they're in this book. Everything is there. All right, these guys are just cheating at this point. They are cheating. They need to share the cheat codes. They absolutely do need to share the cheat codes. Two big things that make it possible. Talent, or several things that make it possible. Talent, hard work, discipline. Having to put yourself out there is important, and then having great folks like you guys who support the stuff that I do. And yeah, I am completely grateful for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I'll be trying to do more of this stuff because you guys were talking about liking to see books, and I think also it's good if you need a little shot in the arm during the week to put something like this on and get a little inspiration. But yes, in short, I thought the Frankenstein movie was brilliant. Like all great works of artwork, it made me think of a bunch of other great works of artwork that I love, and great works of art that I love. From of course, Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, and even all the way to Osamu Tezuka and his influence and the European fairy tale influence. And so thank you guys so very much for being here. We're at 2 hours, so I'm going to wrap up. I have updated the channel credits, and this is a new show, so it has a new opening theme and a new closing, more mellow theme song from the heart of Lovecraft Country and the birthplace of American religious liberty. My name is Shanthan Jetty, and you've been watching Shanthan Jetty Art. Stay gold, speak easy, keep the faith, and peace be with you guys. Give nihilism no quarter. I will see all of you guys very soon. I'm sure there's some great streams out there. Check it out. Ooh, oh, cool. $30 on Amazon US right now. That's awesome. $30. Stop tempting me, guys. Seriously, do not miss it. I'm not familiar with his artwork, but Sean's so enthusiastic. It's great stuff. I sent you a message on Instagram. Thanks for the art club hangout. You're very welcome, Cursed Heart Creations. I am so glad, and I will check out your message. Thank you so much, Flutterbat. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sugondis. That's your samurai name. Great stream, and be safe out there. Timmy Mello, thank you for being a channel member. Thank you to all of my channel members, and thank you Arcadian Comics. Thank you Nomad Damon for gifting a membership. You guys are fantastic, and yes, indeed, we'll keep going. And thank you Stephen Rockwood and everybody for all of your help. You guys are the best. All right, guys, here are the credits, and if your name isn't in them, let me know if you're a channel member. I do think it's updated. Take care, everybody.